Been a difficult day for football fans and pro wrestling fans. Today we just found out about the loss of Steve Mongo McMichael, and it's been a very difficult day for pro wrestling fans and football fans, especially Chicago Bears fans. After all, he was a part of that 1985 Bears defense team that ultimately won Super Bowl 20. He was a really great football player, but I mostly remember him from his pro wrestling days as I'm a professional wrestling fan. So I thought I would hop on here a little bit to discuss both his football career and his pro wrestling career. So I just want to give a brief overview of his football career. In the NFL, Steve Mongo McMichael, he was a third round pick. He played for multiple years with the New England Patriots, the Chicago Bears, the Green Bay Packers, and heck, he even coached football at one point with the Chicago Slaughter. If you guys don't know about that, the Chicago Slaughter was a football team for the indoor football league. That was him. He went into that role from 2007 to 2013. One of the greatest defensive players, in my opinion, and a key piece to that Bears defense. But when he retired, he decided he wanted to give a try for pro wrestling. Fascinating fact that many people might have forgotten. Did you know that Steve Mongo McMichael was married to Deborah Marshall, who was a professional wrestler slash manager in the WWE and WCW, and she was also married to Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's a fascinating fact that a lot of you probably don't remember. And around 1995, he wanted to give a chance at pro wrestling. And obviously, he was seen in that 1995 match where Lawrence Taylor and Bam Bam Bigelow were going to have a match against each other. And of course, Steve Mongo McMichael was with him at the time. The original plan was to try to sign Mongo to a contract in WWE, and they even gave him TV time where he would even have a brawl with Kama, aka Papa Shango, or as everyone knows him, the Godfather. And it was a funny clip where Vince McMahon was in commentary at the time, and while they were fighting, he was yelling, "Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!" It was a funny moment. And the plan was for him to sign a deal, but he ultimately chose to go to WCW for more money. I think the real reason was for more money. And he started off as a color commentator for around a year while he got training from Terry Taylor, who also went by the Red Rooster in WWF. So obviously he was training in WCW. He was more of a heel commentator for the company. And he also was a part of the Four Horsemen, where he and Ric Flair would actually have a close relationship. Even outside of the ring, they were close. And you can tell when Ric Flair talks about Steve Mongo McMichael, like he loves that man. Like they're close friends. And even when Ric Flair went to go visit Mongo, because Flair would often go over there, you could tell like this man loved Steve Mongo McMichael as a friend. It was just abysmal what he had to deal with in his life with his ALS and losing his battle there. So he joins the Four Horsemen. I wasn't a really big fan of Mongo in the ring. He was a little sloppy with his professional wrestling, but you can't take away from the fact that he was a Four Horseman. And with all these celebrity inductees, I'm kind of a little surprised that Steve Mongo McMichael isn't in the Hall of Fame for WWE, especially with the celebrity inductees that they used to do back in the day. He would have been perfect. Mongo was that big of a name in football, him transitioning into pro wrestling. It would have been perfect for him to go in the Hall of Fame. Now, something that I also like to say is that he actually got kicked out of the Four Horsemen, and Deborah would eventually leave being his manager and would go with Jeff Jarrett. And at the time, Mongo was going after the WCW United States Championship, and he actually won the belt at Clash of the Champions. And it was a really like it was a really good moment for him, and you could tell he was happy that he won the championship. And something that I think would have been great for him is if he would have, been more of a consistent pro wrestler in the ring. He probably would have had a longer championship reign, but ultimately didn't go too well. And near the end, like in the late 90s, he just had various feuds. I mean, he would go with Eddie Guerrero a lot. He would often feud with Goldberg. In fact, there was one time where Goldberg actually stole Mongo's ring, and like Mongo was trying to reclaim his Super Bowl ring from Goldberg. It was one of those like small term feuds, but it could have been something great. And Mongo would, it wasn't the greatest time as for him as a pro wrestling career, but I I really have to say he at least tried, and he did his best to try to get better, but it ultimately didn't work out. And while he was released in 1999 in WCW, he didn't go into pro wrestling full time. He did make a return in TNA in 2008. I believe this was when he was an official. He was he was a referee at the match, but you could tell like the man was slow. He was a little lost at officiating, but that was a kind of a big get for TNA to get Steve Mongo McMichael, especially as a ref. Now, it's often known that he was diagnosed with ALS, which is a cruel disease, and you could tell like it was a really rough disease. And watching Mongo go into the Hall of Fame while he was alive was just great. And I'm glad the NFL did that, and I'm glad he got to witness him being immortalized in the Hall of Fame. And today we got the news that he was entering hospice care, which it sucks, man. And later on, he actually died from his illness. I know him and his wife Misty, she loved that man so much and stood by him, taking care of him. It just sucks that Mongo had ALS, and my thoughts and prayers go out to Mongo's family, his kids, his friends. This was just a tough one, man. And Mongo, he's going to go down as one of the greatest football players of all time, and honestly, he's going to go down in professional wrestling as a man who tried to make his mark in the business, but it never really panned out. But he is one of the more successful, notable professional wrestlers who did win a Super Bowl and competed pro wrestling full time. Like, he wasn't a part timer; he was a full timer. And while it sucks that his pro wrestling career didn't, work out in the end, you got to give him credit for trying. And it just really sucks that that he had to deal with that disease, because in every story I've heard about Mongo, he's always come across like a really nice man. So yeah, my thoughts and prayers go out to his friends and family, the Chicago Bears organization, the Chicago Bears fan base, and yeah, this is a tough one. So yeah, this is my quick recording reacting to Steve Mongo McMichael's death. And yeah, it's disappointing to hear this news. You never want to hear about this. So yeah, have a good day, everybody. We'll be back recording Ringside Rant podcast next week, and hope you guys have a good day.